Lost my mind, now I'm feeling so fine, cause I finally realized I don't need you. I'm feeling sublime, and you're watching me shine, and you realize it's time I don't need you.
Hello, I'm Brooke,
Hi, I'm Imani.
and we're from Heaven Sinks, and we're Heaven Sinks. Welcome to our podcast. This is episode 4, and today we're going to discuss goal planning, monthly to weekly. Last week we discussed breaking down your annual goals to your no, I'm sorry. We discussed breaking your quarterly goals down. So week 2 we discussed breaking down your annual goals to your quarterly goals. And week 3, we discussed breaking down your quarterly goals to your monthly goals. So this week, we'll discuss breaking down your monthly goals to your weekly goals. So, how was your past week, Imani? How did it start and how's it going?
Um, the week started off strong. I was about to have a 3-day weekend, celebrate our hero, Martin Luther King, and got a call that I needed to come pick up the kids from school because somebody was sick. And that one person shut everything down, basically till further notice, basically until February. So the 3-day weekend was cut short, but honestly, it just made me really grateful to be working from home in the first place. And it helped me to have a bit of urgency behind some of my dreams and side hustles that I want to create, because it's amazing to see how disastrous an everyday life occurrence would be if you're not in a particular position, whether that's emergency funds, working virtually, or having something that you could do from home. It just showed me how important that is, because you can't control really anything and you can't see everything coming. And if I were to be working in an office right now, that would have been a problem. So even though it was unexpected, it was a great eye-opener and a great reminder as to why the things that we've been talking about, the things that I've been getting around to all this time, are so important to implement. Because it's like you drag your feet because you're not ascribing the correct amount of importance to it. That's why we drag our feet, because we're like, it will be nice, but it's not urgent. It's not important. But when your kid's school is closed, however, that becomes life and death, food, home, no home. And it has for so many people over the past year, COVID has been the difference between people eating or having a home or having a car or having whatever they need. So I found myself really grateful for that reminder and that push to stop treating my dreams as something casual and something fun and cute. While they are those things, they can also change my quality of life. So I feel like it was actually a needed experience. What about you? How was your week? Did you want to respond to what I said at all?
No, I definitely agree. I actually like your story, but I'll go more into depth about that later. We're going to touch on some other things we're going to talk about this week. I mean, today. Um, But this week was actually good. It was a little crazy because my birthday just passed and I had two parties over the weekend and still trying to get some last minute paperwork done for the business the contract that we started last week. And then trying to get my son back on track to get his butt and get his tail in school. So it started a little crazy, but everything actually really went well. Even with the parties, like there was some craziness, like trying to get everything together, and we did like a DIY paint and sip, so I had to get that stuff together at the last minute. And then like I had a breakdown yesterday, not a full breakdown, but I was just very concerned about my son in school. But the conversation that we had today, and I took him up to the county college, his mind is focused as far as where he needs to go. So it just showed me that sometimes we get concerned about, or we get worried about things because it's not going our way or it's not in the way that we planned for it to be. So, but everything actually worked out. And this week was actually a very productive week. I'm actually very proud of myself. I got a lot of the stuff that I needed to get done. So that was good. But as you said, environment matters. Environment matters. And being a parent, we always get thrown a monkey wrench. There's always something that comes into our plan. So we're briefly going to talk about breaking down the monthly goal to the weekly goal. And I wanted to discuss how the week went because when you start breaking down your monthly goal into your weekly goal, this is when it kind of gets detrimental. The monthly goal goes into your weekly goal. So now you have 4 to 5 weeks to meet this monthly goal. And you have to break it down into 4 to 5 steps and make sure that those 4 to 5 steps line you up to meet the goal for the month. And of course, the next breakdown is weekly to daily, which is even more detrimental because you want to make sure that you're doing 1 or 2 things each day to meet that weekly goal. So I wanted to use a example of someone running a mile or a marathon. If somebody who runs and doesn't necessarily run a lot decides that they're going to run a mile, well, I'm going to give myself 30 days to be able to run a mile. I don't run. Imani says she runs. I don't run anywhere.
I run to the refrigerator.
I don't run anywhere. I might walk a mile, but in order to build themselves up to run that mile and run it consistently, they might make steps, over the 4 weeks. So the first week might be, I'm going to run a quarter mile. I'm going to run a quarter mile, take a 15-minute break, and run another quarter mile. That might be what their goal is for week 1. So by the end of the week, they can run a quarter mile without a problem. And then week 2, it might be a half mile. I'm going to run a half mile. I'm going to take a 15-minute break, and I'm going to run a half mile again. So by the end of the week, when I'm running this half mile, I'm not winded. It feels good. I'm not exhausted, etc. So then week 3, they might say, I'm going to run 3/4 mile. It feels good. Now I can start to push at the end of the week. By week 4, I can run a mile without a problem. I ran the mile the whole week. Okay. Just the 1 mile, not 5 or 6, just 1. And I've done it successfully without a problem. So now when we go into the next month, I'm able to continue running that mile. And now I'm running a mile instead of doing no running or just sprinting or just doing a quarter mile or whatever the case is. So that's how you build up the steps to get to where you want to go. Um, this week, I needed to. Well, one of my new business ventures, I am doing a delivery service, and I had to pretty much make sure everything was in line with the business, incorporated, bank accounts, etc. And I've had some of these things already, like EINs and stuff like that for my businesses, but I had to make sure that all the names match. And in order for all the names to match, I had to file different paperwork. I had to speak to the IRS. I had to call different entities. I had to file with New Jersey. I had so many different things just to put this thing in place. So then that way, when the contract started and the checks start to come, I'm not waiting to cash my checks. And this week was, the last 2 weeks was actually a matter of, okay, this piece is done, that piece is done, and making sure each piece was done. The first piece was I needed a copy of my EIN. And from being homeless to losing almost 80% of my stuff, or getting rid of 80% of my stuff, only really keeping like clothes and stuff like that, the necessities. I couldn't find that letter. I could not find that letter. So I had to reach out to the IRS. And then when I spoke to them, the letter has the original name of my kids' Uber company that I never used. I never used that name. It was supposed to be Kids Lift, and we never did that. We never did Kids Lift. We used Show for Kids. And then when I had that entity, I was living in North Carolina. So now I have to make sure all of that's shut down and then change the EIN to the new brand and the new entity in which the delivery services company. So I had to make a plan and make a step-by-step process of the things that needed to be done. In the first week, I had to contact the IRS. That was first and foremost, because I had to wait to get paperwork back from them. And being that I was aware that I had to wait, that was my first priority, because that was going to give me the room to get everything else done, so that while I waited, the other things were being put into place. How are you going on the monthly to weekly breakdown?
Well, I feel like honestly I've been doing things daily. I think that's just how my brain works. I constantly run through what that weekly goal is or what that monthly goal is, and every day, like we talked about last week, I'm doing something immediate for that. And so I think I just realized that works for me. It's been kind of interesting to get to know myself by trying to follow a system, and then you kind of see what matches your personality or what doesn't. And so I've just been trying to do things daily instead of weekly, or I think that is the design anyway, for your weekly goal to become broken down into the 5 to 7 days. And it's been going well. I think one of my favorite things I've been doing that's been really painful but good for me is articulating what my goals are. So normally I'll have goals and they're in my journal, or they're in my planner, or they're on my calendar right over here. And I'm depending on myself to to figure it out. And what I've started doing is being very verbal. This is what I'm doing. I want to do it by this time. And I've been cultivating community for the past 15 years, and it's been really fun. But lately I've been speaking to different people in my community specifically about those goals. So like one of the goals I had was working out. And so I spoke to someone in my community who is like, they got the pre-workout, everything. They got the whole system that they follow. No, go. I'm going to repeat what I just said because there was. Okay, bye-bye. Go watch. So, it's okay. You're fine. So I've been developing community for about like 15 years or so, but this is my first time trying to speak to specific community members for myself for goals that I have. And one of my goals was fitness. So I began to speak to someone about the fitness goals. And the reason why I said it was both good for me and painful is because I don't really know what I wanted to hear. I think I wanted to hear you're fine the way you are, and you'll get there, kind of like Oprah feel. And what I heard was, don't rely on your feelings to get you to this process, because your feelings are not going to get you to the gym. Your feelings are going to get you in bed where you've been eating and drinking what you've been eating and drinking. So you go because you need to go, and your feelings might catch up, they might not, but you need to get your tail over there. And you need to just start, and don't rely on anybody else to get you started, get you going. Go, because even the people that you partner with, they might not be available, and then what? Like, are you not gonna go? I was just like, well, dang, I had to take several seats. I think I'm still recovering, frankly. But that was so eye-opening for me, because I realized that that's the power of tackling my goals daily. Okay, go. I realized that was the power of tackling my goals daily and being strategic about who I communicate certain goals to. And lastly, doing things immediately, because I've been almost going to the gym for a long time now, since I lived in New York, and I haven't lived in New York since I haven't lived in New York in a while. Okay, so oh goodness. So those three things, incorporating that, and then like we talked about before, talking and knowing I'm going to talk to Brooke, we're going to do our podcast, we're going to do this, has just been really helpful, because it's also top of mind. So a lot of times you have goals and you can forget them, and you do want to do them. They are maybe important to you, but just in the busyness of life, they're kind of easy to forget, because everything else around you might seem more urgent: work, sleep, basic necessities of life. So keeping things top of mind and getting on them day by day, and being strategic about who I speak to. I thank God for my community that gives it to me straight. They don't really tell me flowery things. They're like, no, you kind of need to do this, and you're on your own. Like, if you need tips, I'll help you. But like, I realized your come up, nobody can carry out your come up for you. And I've been just like mulling over that lately. But so many times people want to buy a course or listen to a podcast or read a book or talk to someone or be mentored by X, Y, and Z. And then it comes time to implement, and they fall off the wagon. And people have wasted thousands of dollars on on an emotional high that once it's over, they don't have the character to sustain it, you know? And so I've been realizing like I have these goals, and if I don't make them happen, they're not going to happen. And it really doesn't matter who's on my team. You know, it really doesn't matter what books I read. At some point, I have to be a big girl and do things because they need to get done, not because I feel motivated or energized or whatever the case is. So those couple of things have really helped me this week to move forward. That took a few more minutes than I planned for, but as you can tell, this has been on my mind. So
No, that's great. And you actually pretty much walked us right into our next topic, which is environment. Environment and relationships and your surroundings can be either detrimental or very supplemental to your goals. And I believe I said that on the last podcast. Your environment could be very detrimental or supplemental to your goals. And Imani actually had two things. So the first thing, she works from home. So she has a little bit more time to kind of schedule around when her children are in daycare. Okay, she was called this week and she had to pick them up. So now your home environment or your environment that you have during the day that might be a little bit more peaceful is not as peaceful. And you have to adjust. And then also the person that you called that gave you that cold, hard, honest truth that said, look, if you want to work out, you're going to work out, period. You have to build the desire within you to work out. Just like you said, a lot of people take classes. They talk to a billion people. But when it comes time to execute, they fall off because either they get scared, timid, they don't want to do it, they're not sure if it's going to be done. They feel like they need somebody to hold their hand. But guess what? The people that are really out there doing it, they're doing it without somebody holding their hand. There might be a friend that might pick them up, help them pick them up and fix it up afterwards, but they're going ahead and they're jumping. And you have to make that jump. And your environment is very important. Your environment, your surroundings, your friends, your family, the people that you're speaking to, your entrepreneurial community. Do you have friends that are entrepreneurs? Do you all discuss your businesses? Do you all discuss the things that work for them that might work for you? These are all, good information that we should pass along. And that you also want to share and that you also want to talk to people about, because instead of us all using that one rickety app that was terrible, if somebody says, hey, I use that app and you know what, I could only use it for 5 minutes and I needed it for an hour, then we all learned, okay, you know what, we're not going to use that app. We're going to go to another one that's free that we can use for a little longer. All of these things matter. Being in the right environment, being around the right people, having the right community, as far as your personal life, your business life, even family. A lot of people start businesses and they want their family to support them, but their family does not support them. My friends don't understand why I do not advertise. I do not try to gain their business. It's a line that I don't cross. If they come to me and they would like help with their business and they would like to use my services, then I can help them. But business is totally separate from personal. And even when we have conversations or we have meetings, our meetings are about business. And then when business is done, then we can discuss, hey girl, how you doing? Afterwards. One of my girlfriends, I went and had a meeting at her house. This was a long time ago. And I went in, had my laptop and everything, and we sat down. I asked her if she had somewhere for us to sit down, like the table. So we sat down at the table, we sat and we discussed business. We did not discuss anything personal. And then after we were done and she was clear and she had a firm understanding of the business that we needed to conduct, I said, I closed my computer first. And I said, now you can pour me a glass of wine. Come on, let's go to the living room. Now it's our time to chill and be girlfriends. And she looked at me like, Brooke, you are crazy. But you know what? She had to respect it because at the end of the day, and she also appreciated it because it was something, I'm taking her business seriously. Okay. And you want to be my client, I'm going to treat you like my client. We're not going to discuss personal business right now. We're going to discuss our professional business. We're not going to do the hey girl. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that until we're done with business. And it's just a way of keeping it separate. When it comes to friends and family, a lot of times you got to chase them around for money. That's why I do not advertise. I do not ask any of my friends or family if they want accounting services ever. Ever. And I can't tell you how many times I get the Brooke, why don't you try to get so and so? No, thank you. And they're like, what? And it's not about that. It's that I rather us keep our friendship and they go pay whoever they need to pay. And that I don't have to answer a tax or accounting question every single time we speak. You see what I'm saying? Because we're friends. Like we can be friends separate of business. And, sometimes you got to separate the two. So don't be alarmed. Like, don't be mad if your friends and family don't support you. Ask them to give you referrals. Okay? Because those referrals are going to be way better customers than they would to you. So environment matters. Environment matters. So Imani, what do you do to make sure that your environment doesn't interrupt what you have what you're working on? And you this week you had to make some adjustments. So how did you adjust?
Well, I feel like I've learned that like achieving your goals it's really a mindset thing. It's not really an environment thing. The same way someone can be in prison and get out of prison and start a business and just kill it. And I've seen so many people do that and everyone's like, how? But their mindset was already altered before they walked out of those doors. And it was just a matter of implementing that. And so for me, my environment has changed since the kids are no longer in school. And there have been a lot of changes in my life over the past couple of years, but I've always followed like a system with my mindset so that I get to decide what type of ground I'm standing on. I get to decide to make this ground, this season of life, fertile. Most people, if they're handed a bad hand in life, they kind of use it as an identity, you know, like, well, I am this, or this is, they use it as a reason why. They might use it as a reason why they can't do certain things. But I use my seasons as a reason why I can. And it's like, the more difficult the season, the better. Like, nobody wants hardship. But I find that there's so much power in saying, I love this phrase that I once heard. It said, instead of saying, why did this happen to me? Like, show the world why it happened to you. Like, show the world what God is trying to birth through you through this process. Take what you can from it and turn it into something beautiful. So I feel like that mindset has helped me, because whether my kids are at school, whether they're home, whether things are good, whether they're not, whether I have a flowing and abundant bank account or I got $20, I always say, like, it's really good if you can get it out the mud, as the youngins say. It's really good if you're a person that knows how to build, because you can't control what happens in life. And more often than not, we might build one time, but then you'll have to build again later. So my mindset is, I've done this before. This is what I do. This is what God does. Most importantly, he looked at the world when it was empty with nothing in it and said, I think I'll create a world today. No big deal. I think I'll create a world this week. And, you know, starting from scratch, starting over, adjusting, that doesn't scare God. It might scare me, but he is well versed in pivoting and in giving us what we need to handle what we need to handle. And even on Monday, when I got the call that school was closed, I'd had a feeling that I shouldn't start an involved activity or drive far. I don't know why. I just was like, you might want to stick close to home today. I just had that feeling. I was like, all right, I guess I'll just stick close to home. I won't, you know, go to a movie theater, go somewhere. I'll be tied up, or take a nap, you know, or anything like that. And I'm glad I did. I got the call. I was able to leave immediately. So I just feel like there are things that are hidden in what we face that are placed there to motivate you. And so I guess that because my mindset is that I'm building no matter what, I'm always looking for an opportunity in everything, you know? So my kids at home, I'm teaching, it's God be with me. But when I play my educational videos for my actual students, my kids are in the back like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you know? So in my mind, I'm like, school is closed, but you're also getting school at home. So maybe, you know, it's really good for them to still be stimulated and also to see that mommy works. You know, I don't just leave them at school and go have parties and have fun. So it's good to see them see me working, getting things done. And I don't even know if I answered your question or if I took a tangent there, but I guess I've the long and short of it is I've made my environment an internal one that influences my external one. So I gave you the explanation first and then the answer at the end, but that behavior has changed my life.
And that behavior, I mean, that is the behavior of an entrepreneur, just period. Um, you have to literally make sure that your external environment matches what you have, what what's in your mind, what's in your heart. Um, and if you don't, then it won't. Like it won't. And if it doesn't match, you will not be productive, or your productivity will slow down, or will be pulled to other directions and things like that.
God got me, plant his seeds, let me breathe, cause I need him. Stay faithful, not hateful, I'm playful, cause he got me. He called me his angel, I'm flying to heaven. Just know that he sent me from heaven to